This meeting is being recorded.
All right, we will call the meeting to order. And the first line of business is approval of the minutes from, excuse me, the March meeting. Has everyone had an opportunity to review those? Okay. Second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay. Minutes are approved. KEDCO update. Yeah, turn that on too. There you go.
So, yeah. So if Alan jumps in as he's kind of looking over my shoulder, don't be surprised.
Okay.
Normally, we're switching positions today. Normally, I'm out traveling the county and he's here, and today we flip-flopped. So I think probably two or three things we wanted to bring up. Kind of an update on some of the things that have been going on last month. Obviously, the last month, housing has been a big issue in the communities and throughout the county. I think earlier this week, you saw the news about Hoosier Homes, which is a down payment assistance program for new and repeat home buyers that we think will have a significant positive impact on people's ability to purchase new homes in the community. We think, again, that'll drive from the demand side in terms of additional new homes. Also had a meeting, obviously, with the Board of Realtors to explain that program. I think the response was very positive to that, and I think we'll see some good results from that fairly quickly, along with our development of individual development accounts, which again will help local residents, incoming residents in some cases, help develop more of a down payment for those new homes. So I think that's a plus. In terms of housing developments, been working both in Warsaw and out in the county with a number of developments. We're actually right at the end stage of choosing a developer in Milford. We met with 5 developers last week. We're very pleased with the response in terms of that many developers coming in and wanting to build a project in Milford. We're going to actually have the local planning committee review those. They have been reviewing those after they met, and have a meeting later on this afternoon to discuss choosing a final developer and getting that project underway. Earlier this week, we met with the Etna Green Town Council, which kind of impacts the redevelopment committee. If you recall, back, I think it was in January, maybe December actually, we may have talked to you about the County Redevelopment Commission serving as the agent for the town of Etna Green, since Etna Green does not have a redevelopment commission. They have a housing project. We've done the site assessment. That came back very positive. We've talked with a couple of developers just very initially. Gone a little bit slower than we probably anticipated, but they all seem to. But we're at the stage now where we have the Etna Green Town Council gave them an update the other evening, and at their next meeting, they'll be passing a couple of policies that will kind of give us the opportunity to move ahead and probably pursue a purchase agreement on that property in the fairly near future. In terms of the Redevelopment Commission's role, I'll be coming back to you at that point after we get our memorandum of understanding done with the town council, talking to you specifically about acting as an agent for the town. First thing will probably be developing a fiscal plan, et cetera. Fortunately, both you and the town use the same financial advisor, so that'll make it fairly easy to work through. Do that. Do a couple of other steps. We've had a conversation with the school board, or I should say the school superintendent. He feels comfortable with going ahead if we should use a residential TIF in that area. Same thing in Etna Green. Other thing probably to make you aware of, Etna Green did annex a piece of property along Old 30, just east of the existing town boundaries. If you will, the two pieces of property east of Winona Powder Coating. They have passed an annexation ordinance to annex that into the town of Etna Green. The property has been purchased by an individual who plans to use that and build a commercial building on the far eastern site there. So we've been working with them. The distinction there, it is now kind of, if you can picture, it is the extreme western edge of a county TIF at this point. So it will come out of the TIF at that point in time, and obviously be included in the, in the town boundaries. And as we've got more information on that, really doesn't have any specific impact on anything that you would be doing, but simply as we change those identifications and those boundaries for that, that particular TIF. So just, I wanted to let you know so you don't get caught by surprise of all of a sudden, why did that section of land leave? And it'll probably be 2023 before we see any activity in terms of building on that site, but hopefully that announcement will come fairly soon. Everything was based on that annexation into the town and obviously extending potentially sewer and water to that site. But we're really pleased with that. And I think, again, several other sites, we continue to work with the town of Mentone on a site. Unfortunately, that property owner is currently somewhat ill, so we kind of had to put that off. But that, again, would come back to the Redevelopment Commission to act as an agent for the town of Mentone, and several other projects throughout the county that we've mentioned before that we continue to work on, whether it's Leesburg, Syracuse, South Shore, those things, some of which may obviously impact this group. And hopefully we're working very diligently to give you an opportunity to work even harder than you are now. So we look forward to more of that in the future. Probably the other thing that we've noticed certainly over the last year, and as we, both in the housing and in the industrial and commercial development, I think it's been mentioned before, is the lack of available sites. We continue to look for, try and identify sites throughout the county, and it's a county-wide situation. Certainly, I think the housing situation is where those need to be generally fairly adjacent to the communities, but also those commercial and industrial sites. We've got a number of clients, prospects, companies that are looking for additional land to build on, additional property to lease in some cases, and that continues to be a problem. I think long-term, we continue to need to be more aggressive in establishing ways to identify, gaining some control, effective control over some of those sites, and obviously making sure that those sites are buildable, site assessments, site reviews, things of that sort. And I think right now it's tight. It's only going to get tighter. And that process, as we've certainly seen, in terms of just identifying sites, talking with landowners, assessing the sites, is certainly 6 to 9 to 12 months in some cases. So we'd like to get ahead on that. Any questions? Alan, are you there? Well, apparently he's.
Hang on. I had to stop. I'm, I think, down on 114 somewhere.
Any other comments, Alan?
Can you hear me all right? Okay. Yeah, hey, I appreciate Greg stepping in. I had to skip out this afternoon. I'm on my way to a 3-day drill weekend for my side career. Just to foot stomp what Greg shared about sites and buildings, I know we've talked at a few meetings about perhaps doing some of the due diligence, researching some different sites, even starting with looking into specific TIF areas and trying to find areas to focus on for development. But I mean, I literally could count on one hand and have a few fingers left over the number of shovel-ready sites we have available in the county. And the sites we do have available are developer controlled to where there are, it's limits of one kind or another to what kinds of development you can see there, as well as maybe some infrastructure requirements. So, if we do want to be able not only to support new business, welcoming new companies to town, but also being ready to support the growth of existing companies in our community, we would do well to have, a focus on site developments, even perhaps getting to where we have a spec building or two on the radar to make sure we have inventory. It's not only our community; other communities are certainly working through the same challenges, but other communities are working through those challenges. And so I'm pretty competitive. I don't want to be left behind and see us lose opportunities that can support the growth of our local economy because if somebody can go a county or two over and find something ready to go, and we just had to put the time in. And so we're standing by to help. It's not pointing a finger at anybody, but saying we're ready to help, ready to support that. And certainly, I think what Greg said, we see the opportunity there.
Okay.
Comments, questions?
On the Etna Green TIF, you're talking about the residential TIF for Etna Green. Part of that, you're talking about also the annexation of that parcel. Is that parcel going to be included in that TIF?
No, the parcel on on Old 30 east of Winona powder coating won't be in certainly won't be in a residential TIF. There may be something in the future that means they may want to put it in a what I would call a traditional TIF.
Right.
But at this point, they don't have anything in plans.
And so is that the goal of that residential TIF to be in place by the end of the year so that we're using the tax basis for this year?
Ideally. Now, I always say that, and then I realize we're already in mid-May, and the process is just
no,
a slow
I'm
one.
not trying to discourage it. I'm just more of saying like, oh, we got to get cracking.
Right.
Because, just my experience and, dealing with other ones and the amount of time and getting, this board meets every other month and getting school board approval and when they meet. I don't have the timetable off the top of my head, but we're pushing it to get it done by the end of the year.
Absolutely right. Absolutely.
Do we have maps available?
Maps available for the,
Specific area you're talking about?
I did not bring any along. I guess it, certainly on Beacon it shows up by, we can certainly provide you with those pieces of property without a problem.
Okay, could we also get a summary that includes exactly what you're expecting from the Redevelopment Commission?
Certainly. Yep.
And I mean, I think we need more information before we could act on it personally.
Yeah, we're not asking us to act.
Yeah, we're not asking for any action on the Redevelopment Commission at this point in time. We had discussed potentially the Etna Green TIF simply to make you aware that it's coming down the road when we discussed that, I believe, in December. So as we come back to you, we'll lay that out in terms of effectively with state statute, the Redevelopment Commission would simply operate as the Redevelopment Commission for the town of Etna Green. You would follow the same policy and process that you would with any, the creation of any TIF in the county.
Is that, I'm just not familiar with that. Is that kind of a one-time thing, or is there something their council has to pass approving that, or how does that?
Yes, and they have done that.
They've already approved that, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And so they don't have to approve anything, they just kind of are it.
They've already approved what they need to request that you do that.
Okay.
And then it becomes up to the
Okay,
Redevelopment Commission to act in that stage. And right now, without them coming back to you with the specific information on the piece of property, there's really no action for you to take.
Right.
When we get to that point, and have effective control of that property, that would be the point that we would come back to them. They will obviously, the piece for the residential TIF will also have to be annexed into the town at some point. So that will happen during that stage also.
Okay.
Greg, I have a question. This is Joni. Can you tell us when Etna Greens Town Council meets so that if anybody on the redevelopment commission were interested in attending that meeting, we would have that opportunity?
Oh, absolutely. The second Tuesday of every month at 7 p.m.
Thank you. Do you know where they meet?
At the Etna Green Town Hall.
Okay. All right. I should be able to find that in Etna Green. Okay. Thank you so much.
Right, smack dab downtown.
Used to be the National City Bank and then PNC and then Intera.
Yes.
But Greg, you said that the council's already approved their portion of this,
Of asking.
of asking,
The
but not anything
Redevelopment
else. Okay.
Commission, yeah. Simply to get that process started. They had the same question. They've never gone through it before. They wanted to simply make sure, well, do they know we're going to ask them to do that? So we started that.
Okay.
Greg, I did have a question. You said that you'd met with 5 different builders for, was it the Milford?
Correct.
location? Is the town determining the range of prices that the homes that would be built by one of these 5 builders, or how is that being addressed?
We started, based on our housing initiative, we gave the towns some sense of what that price range we felt would be included in workforce housing. Now that, obviously, over the last year and a half has been truly a moving target. And so we've tried to stay within a price range, quite frankly, $250,000 to $300,000. We asked the potential developers to come back with proposals for development where the pricing would be in that general range, given what they know now. And I think our challenge is that we'd started at a slightly lower price point a year and a half ago. Obviously, lumber prices all of a sudden took off, added about $20,000 to $30,000 per home. So at the same time, when interest rates remained relatively low, it would still work through. There are some metrics that different groups have asked us to stay within: average median income, average household income, 120% of median income in the county, all of those things. That number, generally the low 70s in terms of average household income, 120% of median income. So we kind of know if that's the target, and then work it backwards in terms of that a gross income of $6,000 a month, and banks look at that and say, well, you can afford 28% of that gross income. I have actually not good at it, but I've memorized it. That's a maximum $1,760 a month that they could spend on mortgage, depending on other student debt, car loans, et cetera, they have. So we've got to make sure that $250,000, $275,000, $300,000 house stays well within, not just, gee, they can barely make it, but well within that amount that they would be able to use. And we're still comfortable with it, although obviously now in the last 90 days, the interest rate hike has forced us again to look at that and make sure that we're staying within that. So we think that price range is still affordable. It still works with what we were looking for and what the communities are looking for. So it is not designed to work, obviously, for everybody, but with the average wages in the county, the average household income, we feel that's where the target is. as we talk with the Board of Realtors, that's where the, the scarcity of inventory is. There just isn't anything in that general price range available in the county on a day-to-day basis. So I think we're still in that area. It may get tweaked a little bit as we move forward.
This is going to test your trivia knowledge. Do you know what the average home price, the home value is for Milford?
No. We have looked at the comparables in the North Park subdivision, which is immediately to the west. And what we have told and talked to the community and the council is very comfortable with and wants to see it, including the neighbors. We want a development that's at or above that.
Okay.
They obviously don't want to see a development that is less than what they have now and in any shape, fashion, or form devalue the property. We're trying to be very careful with not only the neighbors, but the town to make sure that, hey, this is going to be a development at or above the level of currently what is next door or in fact throughout Milford. And I think that's what we've been very careful. I think there is a sense in most of the communities, I heard it from a town council president yesterday. They're very, very, very cautious about what they perceive as subsidized housing, low-income housing, but whatever that is. And I think there are different ways to address that, and certainly are being addressed. But they, in this case, it was a trailer park that they had some concerns with and didn't want something like that. And obviously, we're not in that market at all. Don't intend to be. Good question.
Well, I just, banks are having to call mortgage customers who've been pre-qualified to tell them they don't qualify anymore because interest rates have risen so much in the last 60, 90 days that it's going to begin impacting projects like this. And so,
Yep.
I know the ongoing debate is what is affordable housing? And obviously there's the cost. I think for most builders, they can't build a profitable home in that band of homes that's lower than what
Right.
the figure that you threw out. However, it'll be something that we're going to have to keep an eye on as interest rates are anticipated to continue to climb, that those affordable homes may be redefined again.
Yeah, we actually looked and ran the numbers. For the last year, we've been running those numbers at 3.5%. Actually ran those numbers at 6%, and it effectively, increases that $300,000 home just a little over $400 a month, just the interest rate change, and that obviously takes somebody who was anywhere close to their maximum there. So I think, there's going to be some stress on making sure that it fits into what we're looking at doing and be able to identify, and that's again where the programs like Who's Your Homes and some of the other ones come into play to provide some down payment assistance.
Right.
Because certainly there are programs now for new home buyers, whether it's 90% or 100%. The problem is then you get that mortgage payment that doesn't work. So we need to be able to help so they have the opportunity for a down payment, which also in fact decreases the mortgage payment and continues to make that possible for them. The good news is the strength of the local economy, that average wage, that average household income continues to go up. And at this point, we had January there, but I didn't hear anything from the realtors saying that they had seen a significant change in the market over the last, few months with the interest rates.
No.
So I think we're still in that gap. We've got to be very cautious about it. And I wish my crystal ball was just a little less hazy than it is, but Certainly at 5.25, we know that's there now in terms of mortgage rates. We looked and said, yeah, by all means, it's probably going to 6. And after that, I don't know, but we're kind of using 6 as the number, given that these homes aren't going to be built until 2023 anyway. So, good question.
Thanks.
Oh, all sorts of trivial information we have.
It's good.
But Greg, Milford is taking advantage of potentially some offsetting some developer costs with the housing program, correct? Like infrastructure type things that are going to help lower his development cost, which then lowers the lot cost.
Yeah.
And they can't grab that back. So if they get it here, they have to pass it on.
Yeah.
So I just wanted,
Yeah, so those are among the things. I can't speak for the town council and what they'll eventually do, but
Right.
they're certainly well aware that they have some tools now that they didn't have before, particularly on the front end with land and development costs that can have a potentially positive impact in terms of probably now maintaining the price range, if not lowering the price range.
okay.
Any other questions?
Maybe for Alan, if you can still hear, he mentioned some site development studies potentially, or maybe Greg, you can speak to this. An area that he wants us, is there an ask in that, or is it just there may be an ask, or does he have an idea of what, when, where?
The answer is yes. Alan, are you still on?
Yep, still here. Sorry about that. I was listening in.
They're asking you if you have an ask. This is a good
Is it
time.
an ask? Well, we're here to help. I don't know there's a specific request today, unless, if there are dollars available in any of the TIF areas that we could use to perhaps do some investigation. I think if we could focus on 1 or 2 areas, looking at the TIF map, perhaps maybe up off of 1300 North or around Leesburg, or again, I think the commission would need to give us some direction of where you'd like to focus. But we are ready, and we could certainly do some work to help with some investigation of the sites, figure out where maybe the best options are in terms of lowest cost of infrastructure extensions, or land that's most development ready, that kind of thing.
Okay.
So it may just be getting any reaction, any comments, any thoughts for you. I think what happens as we go into those, and we at KEDCO, we look at the maps and we sit around and we say, well, what about? And I know as I get out and drive around in the county, I come across pieces that I say, gosh, this really works out well. We've got utilities relatively close. It looks like a nice piece of property. But once you get into it and start to deal with the property owner, starts to deal with getting some initial engineering, obviously there are some costs involved to really find out if, in fact, that's the appropriate place to go. And I think that's knowing whether or not we have that ability to use some resources to do that makes it much, much easier to go along. Otherwise, we're like too many of those people driving by some of that farmland simply saying, well, gee, how much would you sell it for? And even if we don't have the ability to go further. So.
Okay. All right. Tony, do you have a question?
Well, I just wanted to comment that I know that 600 north is not going to be feasible, because we just gave them, or 1300 north, because we gave 600,000 for the intersection for doing the overpass. So I don't think there are funds there.
Up in the Syracuse, Milford area, is that the one you're talking about?
Yeah, Milford.
Yeah, where they're on 6, where they're doing that overpass. That TIF district has already been, we've already spent a lot of that money. I don't think there's very much left in that balance. which we could check with Michelle, but what I would prefer really, Greg and Alan, is a specific request, not a let's set aside TIF money to go see if something's viable. I would prefer personally a specific request. This is where we want to look. This is what we want to do with the money, which I think we've asked for all along, instead of just a vague, hey, why don't we use some of this TIF money to do this? I'd like to know specifically where, when, what, how, and why.
Well, okay. If that's the direction, I mean, from the commission, we could dust off the letter we shared, I think back in December, January timeframe, and just provide maybe some more specifics about areas to focus on. Or, I mean, if the commission members would want to give us direction on areas you'd like to focus on within the various TIF areas. But I mean, yeah, we're ready for sure.
Yep. Absolutely. I've got a couple of favorite spots out in the county that I would like to get serious about. I keep driving by them and saying, gosh, should be really good. So yeah, I totally understand, Joni. Certainly will. We can come back with some specific requests and specific targets. We may want to be a little cautious of, I'm also aware of the landowners. If all of a sudden their land gets bandied about in too much of a public discussion, they kind of get a little, they either get a little touchy or quite frankly, what happens is the price all of a sudden goes up quickly. But I think we've got some that we're aware of and we know how to access the information that we need to start with.
Okay.
So, would that be helpful, Joni?
Yes, very.
Okay, absolutely. Thank you.
Okay.
I don't know how the other members feel about that, but I'd like to hear from them.
Okay over there? Let's get some ketchup for you.
Please.
I think we're all wondering what restaurant you're at, Joni.
Just a minute, I'll tell you. What's the name of this place? Schuler's. Where are we? Marshall, Michigan.
Oh, my goodness. How's the weather?
Oh, it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, no, I would echo your comments, Joni. I know the original ask, Alan, was more of a lump sum, but given that the various TIF districts have different balances, varying balances, it would be more helpful to be more strategic in which TIF districts that currently have balances, that have locations that would be of interest. So I think we could support you better in knowing specifically where you want to look. And obviously you can see from our records today which TIF districts have balances. So I think we could serve both interests better if we had more specific strategic direction that you would like to go with this.
Okay. Excellent. Okay, good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you. All right, moving on to the TIF review. And as Joni would say, in accordance with IC 36-7-25-8, we are reviewing the Van Buren TIF first. Get up there.
I did provide to each of you a copy of what your recommendations were last year.
Okay.
So that should be in the packet that's printed, along with the minutes, so you could see what direction you gave on the tips from your prior meeting. And since Joni has joined us electronically, your votes will have to be roll call votes from this point forward.
Do we need to go back and do that with the minutes?
No, she
Okay.
was not in attendance when those were approved. It's just anything since her attendance.
If there's been no real change over the last 12 months or as we look forward, is there anything that would keep us from not using our response from a year ago?
No, you can restate them, but when you do review the insert that I have from last year's meeting, number 1 and number 3 were not actually addressed last
Not
year
actually
on the Van
addressed.
Buren.
Yep.
But it does look like you have responses for all 3 of the co-op.
On the co-op, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, any comments, discussion that, in regards to the Van Buren? The long-term plan was to let the allocation balance grow.
That answer is 2, right? But the 1, the commission's budget for tax increment revenues collected within the allocation area is, so $115,845.86.
Yes.
Okay. So that's, answers question 1,
Right.
correct? I would support the same response from a year ago, which is to let the balance grow for future development or future use. So then we still have to respond then to question 3.
Do we need to make an individual vote on that particular piece, or can we, do you need each item?
Yeah.
Later.
Yes.
Lay it all out? Okay. That's what I, yeah. All right, so we have the dollar amount, we have discussion about letting the balance grow, and then the impact.
Is that third question generally answered with a dollar amount? Okay.
Yeah, and looking back at the minutes and how you addressed those TIF questions at your prior meeting, your answer for both those TIFs were to improve or expand tax revenue due to improvements.
For number 2.
That was for number 3.
Oh,
For
that was
number 3.
Oh, so then not a dollar amount.
Number 3,
Right.
not a dollar amount for number 3.
Okay.
That was your response. But you're free to address those questions with any responses that you like.
Right. So. Any further discussion on the Van Buren? Is that, are we adopting the, to let the balance grow as we stated? Because it's 115,845.89 right now, correct? Okay. And then the impact would be for the taxing units within the TIF, which is plain, for improvements, future improvements.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm good with that, support that.
Okay. Anybody else have any? Okay. Joni, any comments or questions on that?
No, I think we need to do that in a form of a motion.
Right.
Doug. Okay,
Yeah.
We just,
that would be it.
okay, yeah, we'll do that as
Yeah.
soon as we have
All right. So can I have
consensus on. Yep.
may I have a motion?
Yeah, I move that we approve Van Buren with the 3 items that we just addressed.
Okay.
I can't state them again.
All right. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All right. I have a motion, I have a second, and now we have a verbal roll call. Is that what you want to do?
Yes, yes, please.
Okay. So Joni, do you want to, we'll start with you.
Joni Truax, aye.
Okay?
Dan Tystrop, aye.
Doug Haynes, aye.
Jan Orban, aye.
State your name.
Your name? Mike Metzger, aye. Okay. All right. So the co-op TIF, which, now I have so many papers I've.
So, yeah, $262,848.89 is the new balance.
Previously, the long-term plan for the allocation was business growth and housing opportunities. I think that, given what was just presented to us, could potentially be still appropriate. Does anybody else have any? Because that's over in that Mentone, Etna Green area, correct? Yeah.
So I would suggest that we abbreviate the response to number one, just to say that the current balance is the $262,848.89 with annual collections at approximately $140,000 a year, period. For one. Two, unless you'd like to amend it, Jan, I think what we said before, the business growth and housing opportunities would be sufficient. So then we can change 3 to match more of how we responded to Van Buren, or we can leave it as is, which is the annual impact is about $140,000.
Yep, either one.
Yeah. Were you going to say something, Joni?
Just either one. I was just in agreement with what Michelle said. So I would say we could just leave it at the growth of $140,000 would be fine.
Okay.
You're doing a good job, Doug.
Jan is the one at the helm here, so I'll go ahead and make a
Oh, I
motion
know.
then. Yeah, I'll go ahead and make a motion then. Then the current balance is as I just stated, the $262,848.89 with annual collections of approximately $140,000. Number 2 will stay the same, business growth and housing opportunities. And then number 3, an annual impact of $140,000.
Growth.
Growth, yes.
Okay. All right, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Dan. So we're going to go through a roll call again. So Joni, I'll start with you.
Joni Truax, aye.
Okay.
Dan Tystrop, aye.
Doug Haynes, aye.
Mike Metzger, aye.
Jan Orban, aye. Okay, motion carried again. All right, thank you.
Jan, you are doing a good job. Thank you.
I repeated the code, Joni.
Yes.
I learned from the best. All right. TIF excess AV certification to auditor.
Yes. So on an annual basis, we're required to report to the state by June 15th. If the Redevelopment Commission feels that there is any excess assessed value that we capture in these TIFs that can be passed through to the outlying taxing districts. So in reviewing your finances and seeing the cash balance that your TIFs have in it, and this is all connected to the plan and the discussion that we just had with these TIFs, if you get to a point where you see that the cash balances are sufficient for the plan that you have, the recommendation is always to release some of that assessed value to the outlying units. But if you, at this point for this year, do not wish to do so, it's absolutely fine. That's why I have the certification prepared. So I would need you to let me know if you want to release any assessed value to the outlying units, or you want to continue to capture all of those assessed values to benefit the TIFs that you have in place.
I would make a motion that we continue to retain the balances for future use.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second that.
Okay, and we need a roll call again. All right, Joni, you're up.
Joni Truitt, aye.
Dan Tystrop, aye.
Doug Haynes, aye.
Mike Metzger, aye.
Jan Orban, aye. All right, motion carries.
I do have one other topic, it's just an update to your previous meeting on the additional appropriations. Joni did present those additional appropriations to the county council. Those were approved. So each TIF district now has an appropriation, each TIF district that has a cash balance has an appropriation of $2,500 each. And those TIFs were the 30 West, Dreyfus, Van Buren, Co-op, and Leesburg. So at this point, once those additional appropriations were approved, I did process the 2 claims that I had been holding at that point, one for Baker Tilly and the other one for Mr. Turner, for our legal counsel for the year. So as you look at those balance sheets for each one of the TIFs that I've provided to you, you'll see those 2 different debits on each one of those 5 TIFs, because I took the bills, divided them by 5, and applied them proportionately to each one.
Okay.
Thank you, Michelle.
Yeah, thank you. Anybody have any questions about that?
So if going forward, if we have other legal counsel, we definitely have that appropriation there. And if you do go forward with supporting a project through KEDCO, as was discussed, that would be another additional appropriation at that point that we could have that discussion about.
Okay.
All right.
So we had expenses then of 6,500 with a starting balance then of 12,500. So we have remaining $6,000.
Spread, yes, over those.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Very good. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
So any other business to become before the Redevelopment Commission today? Do I have a motion to adjourn? Okay. Thank you very much.
No second.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Joni. Enjoy your lunch. What is behind you, Joni? Are those paintings, pictures, mural? What is that? Oh, you're muted. Bummer. You'll have to tell us when you're back in town. Yeah, we can't hear you. Yeah, all right.
Should have had a white background because it distracted me.
I know, I can't, like, what is that, an aquarium? Is that flowers? What is that?
Somehow or other, it's still capturing some of them. I have a picture of their wall, just for Doug. What I think they should have asked about is looking at my sandwich. Yeah. They should have. Gosh, this thing looks huge. That's okay. It is huge. Sorry about that. I was just afraid that she was going to move ahead on something. She tends to do that. Oh my gosh, this is good.